Good morning from New York. Today's subject, NDEs, out of body experience, and mystery and science. Briefly, did you know that NDEs, neurologists are capable now of creating the out of body part? The out of body experience can be created by stimulating, uh, blocking messages from a certain part of brain. I'm not not a scientist, but um, there's a certain area of the brain that they focus on. They're able to use that to create a body out of body experience. They can pop you in, pop you out. So that's an illusion, and the title of yeah, and let's look at the NDEs. You know that's near death. Real death, you don't come back. Okay, and that's pretty plain. When the cells in the brain start breaking up, when they explode, according to the commentary. Um, there's no coming back from that. It's done. So what's creating the illusion? Well, the brain is definitely giving you the out of body experience, and these out of body experiences and so on are can be created also by the feeling that you're threatened. Okay, it's a response to threat. You know, when there's enough threat, where do you go to maintain and keep within your comfort zone? You've got to have a resource. Um, a lot of the things in NDEs can be explained as part of that. Part that can be explained sometimes is the knowing of things that shouldn't be possible to know. And science is studying that. And mystery, there's no different, there's no competition between mystery and science. Mystery is what fuels science. And we want to understand it. And living in mystery means you've given up, I suppose. But the title of this spiel is Necessary Illusions and the IMC, or Inner Mind Communication Perspective. All right. So, as you know, with the inner mind communication techniques, we're talking about increasing or utilizing the effects of three forms of empathy: creative, objective, and compassionate, from which our virtues evolved. Goodness from compassionate empathy, and truth from objective empathy, and from creative empathy, art, the ability to appreciate uh, the beauty in things. Uh, so, and you hear a lot of these things being reinforced by the after effects and initial effects of NDEs. So it's not an experience that has no value. Um, so necessary illusions. Well, did you know that the brain knows what you've decided to do before you're aware of having decided it? Think of it this way. Your brain is your higher power. Rationally speaking, I mean, this we know. Uh, it is your higher power. It is your AI. And when you decide that to own, um, I made this decision, you have personified it. You've made it personal. You've given birth to the illusion of self. Resting that in meditation and many other things that are done by the mystics, that barrier illusion can drop away. You see evidence of that in these NDE experiences. Does that make them supernatural? I think so. Again, there are things that are difficult to explain that occur, and it's certainly worthy of study. But the IMC perspective is that yes, we can get to this kind of experience where we're becoming more virtuous through learning empathy. Children, for instance, you're not born with it. What you're born with is the ability to relate to your feelings and to feel them, to concentrate, focus on your feelings, and to be at play with how you feel. Certainly evidenced in needs, and to express those your feelings. Right? That's how we know to pick the baby up. Right? And yeah, so that empathy is something that's a more learned language, socially based sort of perspective, where you are doing a kind of mirroring. You're trying to see and feel, some sense, what the other person is feeling. But to understand it and to kind of share it. Well, sharing that, use in a loving way, is very useful. And the skills of objectivity, which evolved from the ability to focus. And that's the IMC theory. And the ability to be at play evolved into our creative empathy. And play on purpose. Virtue from that art, from objectivity, truth, and compassion. Compassion evolved from our ability to express why. The evolution is a social one, and it involves, based on what helped us survive. It's based on creating a safe environment for that expression. So a sense of compassion. So compassionate listening, and compassionate soothing. These things help you to feel safe, to feel what you felt. The fly in the ointment of all of this damaged faith and love. which I talk about is a more mild sort of thing where you can remember what happened to you, but it hurts. And there's some helplessness involved with this. And according to the degree of helplessness that you're experiencing, that's what begins to move this practice over into the hands of a therapist who will be experienced and trained in these practices. And yeah. So I call ACEs something that is more impacting than what you fully remember. It involves helplessness again, and that helplessness causes symbolic acting out, and that's true. More true with that than just, gee, that was a painful experience. So that's the next level up from what I would call toxic helplessness. And the toxic helplessness is something that you don't fully remember. And, the ability to feel and express and focus on it has been removed, and it's all symbolized. And, it's the root of some pretty serious addictions, and yeah. So how does helplessness affect us? Well, it does. When it's severe enough, it creates a symbolic version of the needs and the circumstances. And that can happen with ACEs too. But the core, the toxic level, it's extreme, and you don't know that you're acting out symbolically. There's a perfectly good reason why your whole house is painted pink. You know, something symbolic that it's I like the color. Symbolic is in connection with that anxiety pain from the helplessness, can cause us to turn more toward pain-killing sorts of things. Where there's no love, the more we're addicted to something that feels good in some way, or that blocks that pain. So that can explain a great deal of many things. Where you have wild civilization, but some sense of harm that was done to you, well, that's you see in politics, where people have a sense that they're being abused, system, but they go wildly symbolic and create strange conspiracy theories and things like this. So this understanding of IMC is it also helps us understand politics. It's in the structure, as I've mentioned before, of family and governance in a broad sense. Well, how democracy should work and how it should be structured. You need expressions of the three forms of empathy for governance to be effective. And Okay, let's get into necessary illusions. Well, there really is no evidence for free will. It's the thing I mentioned before about the brain. It's doing all the work, and then we're going, oh, I decided this. That's your sense of free will. It really isn't real. But is it a necessary illusion to help us be stimulated to change our behaviors and things that are not good? Yeah, it's almost a necessary illusion, or else how can our laws work? There's no responsibility. Responsibility in this sense, means pressure on the brain to change. So, but the tendency to punish is a problem. That's something that we can do without. It's not shouldn't be part of the necessary illusions. It's unnecessary and harmful because there's a process of unlearning the helplessness and helping yourself to be a more virtuous and more caring individual. Something that seems to happen in NDEs, some kinds of mystic experiences, and some rituals where they're using peyote and DMT, dimethyltryptamine. So why do these things work, and why why is it in the right application of these things, is there a possibility of help or cure of some psychological maladies? Well, it opens up the infant mind, and the infant mind is you before you had a self-concept, and it also is a state in which messages and so on in the brain are not hardwired. It disrupts the hardwiring that is necessary, for maturation and survival, but it can go wrong and have be a problem. So broadening your perspectives can help the brain to change from those simple hardwirings. You're just nothing but hardwired. You're just you're a zombie. You're out walking around in delusion. Everything's good. You ever see somebody in a cult? Happy, happy, joy, joy. That's one of the things that make me suspicious of some of the things that go on within these. The happy, happy, joy, joy thing. It's we're in heaven and then we decide to come back as a serial killer. It's here. You experience that to learn. Yeah. But when you're there, everything. Really? Then why did you come to learn? I don't know. It's just kind of, it sounds like a reaction to extreme threat. Now, I've had my experiences, but it's all right to have strange experiences, but don't draw conclusions from it. You don't know. We don't know with psychic things whether there's some kind of, even if you knew something that you shouldn't be able to know, and in detail or whatever. Well, we have cell phones where we pick up things from. Wouldn't it be more reasonable to think that somehow the brain, when it's unleashed from its hardwiring, might be picking up signals and colors and other things that it normally doesn't, that are hardwired for your survival, to be in a certain perspective. So that just makes more sense to me. But that's, I think it's helpful to do these practices. Now, I'm going to go back again, to the 3 levels of helplessness that I talk about. Of course, these are arbitrary and maybe overturned in the future with a better concept. But these effects seem to be related to levels of consciousness, damage that or trauma that occurs when you have no self-concept, when you're, an infant, you're pre-language. That kind of damage is more severe. And I would say that it's some of that is probably tied to the extreme toxic helplessness that I mentioned. It's one of the last things that need to be felt, or can be felt. Then this is not for everybody. Consult your scientific experts for engaging in any practice. You can create illusions, or you can end up lost in illusions. You want to be fairly healthy, a safe environment, surrounded at least for the moment, by intelligent, caring individuals who provide that shield, that ability to feel what you once could not feel. Now, I talk about a pathway. Let's go and do the next. What Arthur Janow called the second line. It's the more emotional period of time, childhood, where damage occurs. And that's a little lesser than the damage that occurs earlier, obviously. And that would be your ACEs. Now, you're looking at the final lightest version of damage, faith, and love. It's more along the lines of Arthur Janow's third line. Things that happen to you as a fully aware adult. But the intensity of events can be such that it can be pretty darn serious at any level. So, yeah, take everything with a grain of salt, including what I'm saying here. But it is, I tend to see things in patterns, and I see a pattern there, which needs study. Yeah, the healing, I can't begin to tell you. The unnecessary illusion is that and it's brought on by people being very stressed and and lacking in inner practices that could grow empathy. That's the purpose of IMC, largely. That's the spiritual component, virtue. That's how I define spirituality. So, can an atheist be spiritual? Yes. Best ones. But there's a pattern, you have to feel what happened to you. Unlearn the helplessness. You got to be able to express what you couldn't express, reflect on what you couldn't reflect on, and learn to be at play with humor or whatever, in regard to what happened. It will change your perspective. So you need to feel it. And what do you get when you feel it? Well, everything is, I talk about the flow of love. It's need and needs being met. And then the mirroring of that around in society. Someone meets your needs, you meet their needs. There's a mirroring that goes on, which is great. Yeah. So you want to beat people over the head, to change right now. Well, that ignores all the facts that we know about the brain, how it functions, and this process that I'm talking about. You don't start from the end. You have to start from the beginning of the process and learn the helplessness. When you've unlearned helplessness, you can realize fully the need that you had buried. And it's no longer, the need itself is no longer toxic. And so then, by the way, the symbols save your life, the channel books out, arthrogen, in the beginning. And then later it's a real problem. Yeah. But anyhow, so when you've done that, then is when you can grieve and that's another process. You have to grieve that loss, which is very real, and let it go. Area study apart. Then you move on to the ability to forgive. Forgive others who did whatever they did to you, or even forgive yourself. And it's after you've done enough forgiving that you finally can have real change where you repent and you're sorrowful for any harm that originated from the hurt in you or your own lack of understanding, so on. So that, after that repentance, then then it's when you're kind of born again to some degree. You're a different person, and realizing you're a different person is the beginning of a new life. And since everybody's been hurt in the world, let's go over to religion. Let's just go all over the place. What, religion divides people. Marching around, it's delusional. If you march around, one says, oh, to have the safety you were looking for, and assurance of comfort and eternity or whatever, you have to march around the mulberry bush counterclockwise. Well, this person meets somebody who's been told it's clockwise. And then they can have heated debates. And it's just crazy from there. My grandfather told me that what they call the hard shell Baptists, and the Camelites, they called them. The Church of Christ was called Camelites. some guy named Campbell, was instrumental in the creation. They both believed that you need to be dunked underwater, but they disagreed about when you're saved. Are you dunked underwater with a look towards salvation? Um, is it a necessary step? You know, not really in until you're baptized? Or is it just something that you do, you know, along the way? Not a big deal. Yeah, they would argue into the night. When these religions came over to this country, they were killing each other, talking about terrorists. They want to wipe out the side that caused them psychic pain. And this is where it all goes, you know, this helplessness, pain, this that the illusions cover over and give you comfort. But what comforts one discomforts another. So progress for humanity has to be away from religion, not embracing of it, except as some form of mythology. If you embrace it, you divide yourself. But it's pointless to say these things. Do the process of IMC and see what you discover. I think you'll have the same insights. Is it all about just the practices that I mentioned? No. There are augments to this process. Objective empathy means you need to learn how to be objective too. You know? Compassionate empathy, be a little bit emotionally intelligent. Develop that. And to be creatively empathetic, you need to work on your creativity. Looking at things from a lot of different perspectives. Right? Not assuming you're right because I think so. Said the chimpanzee to the bamboo tree. I believe you should be a banana tree. Yeah. Is it bamboo a tree? I get it all wrong. Huh? See? We're all wrong. Much of the time. People lie. They make stuff up. Yeah. Yeah, they do. And the first thing you suspect if you share some of these things that are hard to explain away is they think you're crazy. Anyway, so you know the punishing attitude has terrible effects on the whole society. It's not a necessary illusion. The necessary illusion is what makes us feel responsible. It's because it incites our brain to do something about it. Yeah. So I hope this has been of some benefit to you. I'm not a great speaker. Yeah, great speakers use stories effectively, and their presentations are ordered. And I could go on, but I'm not going to get the limits of my IQ here. But so anyway, take a look at the website innermindcommunication.com. You'll find a little bit over there. It's not a well done website, but still can gather a little information. And a phone number Anyway, and there's an email, yeah, intercommunion, jeez, intermind communication, IMC, intermindcommunication@gmail.com. Okay, so consider all these things, respond as you like. My feelings aren't easily hurt. And I love humor, so if you want to make fun of the way I look or something, that's perfectly permitted. I look a bit like a clown, don't I? Yeah, I do. Big nose, big ears. I just need a red nose. It's my calling. Anyway, I've made my presentation, and I won't bore you further. In case you already knew all these things, well, good for you. And if you got something to add to it, well, you can add to it. Yeah. Yeah. And if you doubt anything, well, do some research. Religions. Churches should move toward away from religions to things like mind communication, things that will help a person develop their empathies, and anything that has to do with mental health and being an extended family. That doesn't throw you out because you disagree with some group. And that's just family. So, and that's the big contribution that religious organizations could have. All right. But you could go round and round and round discussing things that we can't nail down. And why waste your life with that? Yeah, just follow the empathies. Learn how to. A lot of this is self-soothing. I mean, yeah, but life will provide enough upset and triggering for you to bring into your imagination, and help correct it. Don't worry about that too much. There's plenty of that available. Yeah. And work on your objectivity, your creativity, and your compassion. Yeah, do that. And trust the scientists, for heaven's sakes. I always like to end by honoring the wonder that's in the world and everybody from the same place in myself. Lost in wonder. Enjoying the heck out of it, hopefully. So, that word that they use in India that gives this kind of honor, it's namaste. All that's wonderful in you. Well, there's wonder in me too. And that part of me encourages me to honor that in you. Highest respect. Namaste.